Hey, what's up, my friend? Graham Baldwin here. Welcome back to the Speaker Lab channel, where we're going to be taking another speech breakdown today. A very popular speaker and all-around motivational dude. We're going to be listening to a talk from Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of caveats here in just a second. I had not seen this presentation. This is from 2016 at the INBOUND Marketing Conference. This is a very good presentation. We watched about half of it here and give some feedback and reaction to it. But I'm going to give you a couple of caveats here at the beginning about Gary, about what he can and can't do, what he can get away with that you cannot get away with. He also cusses a lot in this presentation, which is, if you know Gary, you know that's a bit to be expected. So just parental guidance warning there. If you're watching this with a kid, you may pick another one of our videos. All right, let's get right into it. Here's a little speech breakdown with Gary V. Okay, before we start this, there's two things I want to point out with Gary V, all right? One is that Gary falls into that category of kind of being somewhat of a celebrity type of speaker. So whenever an organization or a conference or group is hiring someone like Gary to speak, they're hiring him for the content. Certainly that's something that's important. They don't want him to just talk about anything and everything, but his name is ultimately what they're bringing in. So because Gary has a name, he has some credibility, he has some celebrity factor to him, then part of the value of bringing someone like Gary to an event is he's going to put butts in seats. He is going to provide a tangible ROI for that event, because they know if they bring someone like Gary and someone who has kind of a big name, then it's going to cause more people to want to attend the conference. So therefore, I wouldn't put a ton of stock in what he has to say. We're going to talk about some of what he does, what he doesn't do, some things that he could tweak or improve on. But again, I want to make sure that we recognize that Gary V or some type of celebrity speaker is not necessarily being hired because of what they talk about, but more about the name recognition and what they bring to the table in that way. The second thing that I would say about Gary, and that kind of goes back to the first thing, is that my guess is, and I haven't seen this yet, but my guess is that Gary's going to cuss a lot, right? That's just kind of his brand, that's kind of his nature. I personally am not a huge fan of that, and but that's kind of, you know, who he is. And again, going back to the first thing I said, is because of his kind of his brand and his celebrity factor, he can get away with that. So all that to say, there's going to be some things that my guess is that he's going to do or say that a quote unquote normal speaker could not do or say. And so you don't want to be comparing, this is not apples to apples, because of some of the celebrity factor that he brings to the table. Make sense? Okay, let's proceed.
Good evening, INBOUND. How are you? I'm super excited to be here. So excited. Can we hear it one more time for that? That was fucking remarkable.
There you go, as predicted.
Good shit.
So just don't come out and have that be your opening line. If you're not Gary V, I wouldn't recommend that. You can't get away with that.
I'm really excited about.
Okay, let's go back for a second there. Just a couple seconds here. Okay, if you look carefully, you can see a whole bunch of people there in the background who are all holding up phones taking pictures, right? Because Gary V just walked out on the stage and everybody's excited to see him. I was at an event literally a week or so ago that Richard Branson was speaking at, and there was just a mob to get in there to see him speak. And then as soon as he was introduced and walked out, everybody's got their phone up taking pictures, myself included. Not necessarily because like, oh my gosh, we can't wait for what he's going to say, but just because it's Richard Branson. He's kind of he's absolutely a entrepreneurial celebrity in the same way that Gary V would be. So that's where, again, we can't get away with that, right? We're not going to be viewed as that type of pseudo celebrity. So when we're walking out on stage, you know, people are like, I don't have any idea who this guy or girl is. And so we have to build some of that rapport and that trust that Gary's going to have automatically long before he got on stage.
I'm really excited about tonight. It's a very special day in our amazing country, and for me, it's especially special because I wasn't born in the US. I was born in the Soviet Union. I came here as a little boy. Both my grandfathers spent substantial time in jail just because they were Jewish. And I know that there's a lot of tension and different beliefs about what should happen tonight. But the fact that we're even able to vote and to be in this amazing country is something that we have lost perspective for. and I'm very thankful to be here tonight.
Okay, so this was from 2016, so I'm guessing that this event was happening, or this particular keynote was happening on the day of what would have been the presidential election back in 2016. So let's talk about this for a second. When you're speaking on the day where something significant happens in the world, cultural relevance in some way, then it's worth bringing up and it's worth noting. Now, you don't have to necessarily dig into it or talk a lot about it. So in this case, the 2016 presidential election was a very, very divided election. And so you don't want to go into something like that and say, hey, I'm super excited that my person won, or I'm bummed that my person lost, or whatever. You don't necessarily need to do that. But the way he just did that of talking about the bigger picture of this, of like, this is a really significant day. We all have the opportunity to vote. And for him, as he and his family were immigrants from Belarus, I believe, that they're just the opportunity to vote at all just seems like this amazing opportunity and experience. So it reminds me of a few years ago. I was speaking on at a place on September 11th. And so here in the US, obviously that's a very significant date. And this was, several years after the terrorist attacks happened. But even just kind of acknowledging like, hey, this is kind of a significant day in US history. And so let's kind of acknowledge it briefly. You don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but just kind of acknowledge, not necessarily the elephant in the room, but acknowledge the significant moment of what that day represents.
And to me, it's super interesting because I want to talk about the journey of an entrepreneur. And by hands, how many people here are entrepreneurs? Raise your hands. Very nice. And how many people?
Okay, so two things there let's talk about. One is, he says, by show of hands, da-da-da-da-da-da. So he's already prepping them that I want you to raise your hand to what I'm getting ready to ask you. So it's not just a nod, it's not just I agree, it's not turn to. He's giving them instructions before he gives them the thing to respond to. So that's a good little quick tip. The other thing too is, it's sometimes we look at like a speaker up on stage and we talk about like it's how well lit it is and how great it is. But you need to understand from a speaker's perspective, you typically can't see past the first couple of rows of people. So my guess is at a conference like this, there's probably thousands and thousands of people there. He can't see more than a few hundred people in that room. So that's why he's having to do that, just to see past the first couple of rows of people.
Your work within organizations that are entrepreneurial within them, raise your hands. Very nice. If we can keep these lights on, that would be huge for me, if you don't mind. So for me, I think...
So what he just did there is he asked them to turn up the house lights just a little bit. So in fact, let's go back. So house lights are down at this point, just enough where you can see just again the first couple of rows. And then what's going to happen is, again, he's going to ask the audience for a show of hands, and then the AV people are going to turn the house lights up a little bit just so that he can see them. Now personally, I'm a big fan of this. So whenever I speak, I like a similar type of setup. I like to have a stage wash. I don't want a spotlight, but basically the entire stage is kind of equally lit, equally well lit in terms of just a white light. And then I like having a little bit of the house light up so I can see the audience. So that's basically what he's asking for here. So it's kind of dark.
I'm really excited about tonight. It's a very special day in our amazing country, and for me, very nice. And how many people here work within organizations that are entrepreneurial?
So see, they turn up. You can see the lighting
change
hands. A little bit there.
Very nice.
And
if we can keep these lights
light
on, that would be huge for me.
Yep, there we
if you
go.
don't mind. So for me, I think the opening statement is going to be this.
Now that's something that if you want to do, again, I'm a huge fan of that. I like to be able to see the audience. So if you're going to do that, it's just a good thing to discuss with the AV people ahead of time. So I always ask, hey, what are the options for house lights? And so in some situations, some speaking settings, it's basically all or nothing. It's a switch. But in most like conferences, like especially like a nice conference like this, they're going to have some type of dimming control there, and some type of sound check or tech run through. Then you can look at some of the different options of, here's what 50% looks like, here's what 75% looks like, here's what 25% looks like. So you can see what the different options are and figure out what you prefer.
If you were sitting in this room tonight and you believe that whether Donald or Hillary wins impacts you, you're a motherfucking loser.
Okay, I agree with the statement. I disagree with the delivery, okay? Now again, let's go back to the caveat we gave at the beginning there. Because this is Gary, he's going to say stuff like this. That's going to be kind of controversial, could be divisive, but it's also going to be kind of in-your-face type of personality. And that works. I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do not do this, that you do not get on the stage and you say something like this that's going to be divisive. So it's meant to be a like punch you in the face type of statement, but it's also meant to be semi-funny. You can see people's reactions there. You see some smiles, you see some laughter. You could hear a little bit of laughter there, but I don't recommend that you do this.
And I want to explain this. We are so lucky to be here in this playing ground where the impact of the president only has so much impact on you, because the reality is we are dramatically, and I mean dramatically, more in control of our lives than the media pounds down our throats. And so I hope if anything, whether you're 16 or 97 and you leave here tonight, you understand how unbelievable our opportunity is to play in this ecosystem. What I want to talk about tonight is a couple of things. One, we are living through the greatest era of communication change that we've lived through since the printing press. And regardless of what you do in here, it is going to impact you tremendously over the next decade, because it's already impacted so much over the last decade. And so for me, that is a very important thing. But before I go into the tactics that I want...
Okay, so that's an interesting thing where he's kind of laying out the roadmap of where he's going with the talk. And it starts to, in some ways, open the loop and raise some questions in the mind of an audience. For me, listening to this right now and watching this, I'm thinking, okay, this is the biggest revolution that we've had since the printing press. Wow, that's pretty significant. What revolution is he referring to? How does that impact me? What does that look like in, my space or my industry or whatever that would mean? So him just kind of opening that loop raises all kinds of questions, which is good because it keeps the audience engaged for where he's going to go.
Bring to everybody, so you bring home something tangible. I want to start with something that I've been spending a lot of time with and haven't really expanded outside of the content that I've put on the internet. So on stage tonight, I thought a really interesting thing to talk about would be self-awareness. If I could spend 2 to 3 minutes with all of you and make you understand that self-awareness is probably the single most important thing that you can spend time on for your outcome, for your future life, it would be so exciting to me if hundreds or thousands of people left here today and started really realizing who they actually were. We're living in an era, and we have forever, where people have sold us on the optics of what we should be, where we should go. Let me tell you a story about myself. It's really funny. I got an email earlier today,
Okay, I always like that as a transition into a story of let me tell you a story, or let me tell you about a time when. Because what happens is, and we've talked a lot about this on the channel before, but humans love stories. We are drawn to stories. We are captivated by stories. So as soon as he starts with a line like, let me tell you a story, immediately we're all like, cool, I'm in. I don't know where this is going. We have no idea at this moment, is this going to be interesting, funny, sad, depressing? We have no idea where this story is going to go, but we're drawn to stories, so we want to know where it's going to go, so we're more hooked in, and he has more of our attention.
Yesterday from a friend of mine, Jay, that I went to college with, who works with Carolyn, who I went to high school with. Are you guys here? Can you guys stand up? Can I find you? Get up. There they are. Can we clap it up for my homies? What's funny is both of them know how bad of a student I really was. And what's really interesting to me on that is both of them also know that for some reason at a very young age, I was extremely self-aware. I knew exactly who I was, and I was able to bet on my strengths. I think that when I think back to my life and the story of my life and what I really want to impose on others to be able to navigate through is I was lucky enough to have a mother who instilled so much self-esteem into my body, I was able to navigate through the universe of not worrying about what everybody else thought about me. And what I've really, to be very frank with you, I've come to realize over the last year or so that I feel so much guilt, just general guilt, that I had it so good that A, I came from nothing, which is a massive advantage. Can the immigrants raise their hands in this room? Let's clap it up for these people that have a major advantage. We're lucky. One thing immigrants realize is how good it really is. So I had that, I had nothing, and then I had a mom that did all the right things for me and made me feel so phenomenal. And so basically I've come to realize, I've been asking myself over the last year, like, why am I producing so much content? Like, what the fuck am I really doing here? I've got this $100 million a year business to run. Like, why do I have fucking D-Rock following me around everywhere? Like, what am I really doing here? And I've come to realize that I have so much guilt inside of me for having it so good that I want to use my content, that if I can play the role that my mom played for me, for anybody in this room, then I've accomplished anything that I could ever dream for. Because look, there's a lot of people that are gonna make money. But to me, the most important thing is how you make your money, not how much you make. And what I realize, thanks Mom, and what I realize is that we live in an era now where we can.
Okay, so in that, I think what he just did there, I think what just happened, it was a little hard to hear from the audio from the audience, but my guess is he said something there, and in a room that size, only a couple people clapped and responded in some way. So anytime you do something like that, where something like that happens, you can easily make a joke out of it and kind of acknowledge this funny little situation of, hey, I said this cool line, and only a couple people responded to it. So him turning and saying, hey, thanks, Mom. Most likely his mom's not in the audience, but he's just pretending like she was, and that creates a bit of humor there. So that's just a good thing for speakers to have in the back of their mind. It's some of these just kind of like one-liners that you can pull out when something like that happens, or when someone sneezes, or when someone's cell phone goes off, that you just have this one-liner in the back of your mind that you can go to. So comedians do this a lot with hecklers. So if they're at a comedy club and they have a heckler, they're not trying to necessarily come up with something on the spot. They probably already have something in the back of their mind of, when this situation happens, here's how I'm going to respond. Now, when he just did that, it looks like it was something that was off the cuff. It looks like something that was just organic and just happened in the moment. And it did, but it was also one of those things that he's probably done before, so he knew how to react in that situation and knew what to say. So for you as a speaker, be aware of some of those type of situations that happen on a regular basis, or a somewhat regular basis, that you have some kind of one-liners in your head of, here's how you're going to handle those, or here's what you're going to do in response to that situation.
All document and create content around these narratives and communicate in a different world. The thing that I'm completely taken aback by is the fact that this is now the television, and the television is now the radio. And it's the late 40s and early 50s, and the people in this room that understand that, and understand that Snapchat and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are ABC, NBC, ESPN, and MTV. And you like that? It's a good one, right? But I'm not done yet. You fucked me up. All right.
Okay, good interaction with the audience. Again, not a fan of the word choice there. But again, one of those same type of situations where when something like that happens, again, it's a little hard to hear the audio from the audience there, but it sounded like one of the bigger laughter, one of the biggest responses that he's got so far. Why? Because it was just this kind of like funny, genuine, in the moment thing. It wasn't like this story that he'd been working on, or this thing that he'd been prepping, or this like punchline he was delivering. It was like this real, authentic, genuine moment that happened between him and an audience member. So anytime you can create that type of moment that feels like this is like an inside joke, this thing that you had to be there in order for it to be funny. Like if someone was attending this and was explaining it to someone else later and saying like, you know, Gary was talking and then someone said, I don't know, amen or something like that, and then he turned and had this little interaction with, like, it's not funny telling it secondhand. So this creates a genuine, authentic moment right there that is not like scripted or pre-planned.
And that the businesses and individuals in this room that realize how to make MASH or Seinfeld or the best shows on those platforms will win. We are living through a major shift where every person in this room has a binary decision. Either you go on the defense because of all of this, or you go on the offense. Either you realize this is the greatest opportunity we've ever had as humans and entrepreneurs, or you're scared of all these changes and you judge them and you fear them. And so for me, in this huge shift of technology and communication comes the greatest opportunity ever. And so what I implore you to do is spend a hell of a lot less time worried about other things that will impact you and spend a lot more time to figure out who you actually are. Because the fundamental core reality is we worry about what other people think. We worry about getting judged if we fail. Here in the US, we're so lucky that entrepreneurship is met with when you fail, you pick yourself back up and you go. And to me, that is unbelievable, and we are blessed to be in that ecosystem, and we need to take full advantage of it. So look, I like the back. Yes, back, step up. This is
Okay, again, one of those moments where he just delivered like a powerful moment there, right? A really solid line. He kind of paused. He was it seemed like he was expecting some applause, didn't get as much as he thought. And so then kind of acknowledging the back of the room that was the one that was probably leading the applause is what it seemed like there.
The only thing I fear besides the health and well-being of my family is regret. The thing I'm so scared of, and one of the tactics, if I could inspire 20 people to do this, that would be big. Fuck, I'll take one. If one person in here can start spending more time in a retirement home, go and donate your time, your most valuable thing, and go spend time with 70, 80, 90-year-olds. Do that for 1 day, 2 days, a week or two, and you will understand very quickly that the only thing that is scary is the things that you didn't do. A lot of people tell me they can't take the chance of going and doing what they want to do, whether it's a different job, whether that's, by the way, I've gotten 100 emails in the last 6 months of people that needed the courage to shut down their startup and get a job because they were worried about the ramifications of being made fun of for not executing on their business. Whatever it is, as you sit here tonight, I want to deploy and I want to start talking about practical risk. And what practical risk means to me.
Now, one of the things I'm always kind of curious about with someone like a Gary Vee, again, going back to what we were talking about before at the beginning, is because he's a bit of a celebrity, then they're going to bring him in to speak because of his name, because of his brand, because of the personality that he brings, not necessarily for the content. So with someone like Gary, it seems like the times that I've seen him speak is it's more kind of like these almost like rants kind of just strung together. And so I'm kind of curious in this type of setting if there's going to be a bigger direction that he's kind of like weaving the talk together with, or if it's just more kind of, hey, self-awareness is on my mind, here's another topic on my mind, here's another topic on my mind, and I'm just going to kind of hit some of these type of thing, and he's kind of like riffing on some different things. So I'm not really sure what the process is for him behind the scenes, but again, he can get away with it a bit more because of the celebrity. The celebrity is going to supersede the content in this particular situation.
Is the thing that I did not understand until I started getting thousands of emails a year from individuals is we're fucking fancy. We're fucking fancy. It's not that you can't, it's that you're not willing to give up dumb shit for a better life. You're not willing to go backwards. You're not willing to make yourself dramatically happier to move out of your home and downsize and go into a different neighborhood. You're not willing to go backwards. That to me is fascinating. The fact that things, whether home, car, watch, clothes, going out, is holding people back from a substantially happier life is fascinating to me and something that we need to debate. Because at the end of the day, that one at bat is all we've got. And so if I can absolutely push you one tangible item, I see some people have pads and pens, and I'm fascinated by that. Go to a fucking F-U-C-K-I-N-G retirement home, spend time, collect data, realize regret is the worst, and do something about it. Got it? Awesome. Let's clap it up for her.
And again, another kind of good organic moment.
I really want to talk about the phone and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat because it's a place I come from, and I want to get a little bit away from the heady shit right now and get a little bit back into practicality. If you are not producing content on the 5 to 6 major social network platforms today, you are creating an enormous vulnerability for whatever you would like to happen in life. I, for a lot of you that don't know, built my family's liquor business really on the back of Google AdWords. Google AdWords came out. I bought the word wine for 5 cents a clip. And even though I was doing direct mail and doing local television and billboards, I get a lot of accolades in this ecosystem from building my dad's liquor store from a $3 to a $60 million business. But the truth is, I stand here tonight and admit to you, not excitingly, that it should have been $150 million. Because if I actually understood how unbelievable the arbitrage was on Google AdWords, I would have spent a lot more money on it and grew my business much more. But I was too patient, I did well, not enough, I did not go all in, and I built a nice...
Now, this is a little hard to see, but one of the things that you want to be aware of is if you are speaking to a big audience, a significant audience, where you're going to be having a live feed of screens that are showing you and you're gonna have multiple cameras on you, one of the things that you wanna remember is a high majority of the people are not looking at you. They're looking at a screen. So you can kind of see here in the background, for example, you have these people here. All of them they're not watching Gary, they're looking at a screen. So you wanna be aware of that as a speaker, that whenever you're getting ready to make a powerful point, instead of just kind of like looking around randomly, you may wanna just like center in on the camera, look into the camera, knowing that that's where most of the audience is going to be looking at that moment. So again, something to be aware of if you're in a bigger venue with a bigger audience.
Business, but in reality, I left a lot on the floor. Tonight, as we sit here tonight, the number one arbitrage in marketing in the world, and I don't give a shit if you do B2B. How many people in B2B? Raise your hands. I know you fuckers. How many people in B2C? So even better. This is why I do this. It allows me to go in a certain direction. B2B clients for me at Vayner and the startups that I'm involved with are doing even better than B2C clients on social, specifically Facebook, because there's one amazing thing about B2B. We, and I'm in it now with VaynerMedia, we know the name of the customer. We know the businesses we want. We even know the decision maker we want. The problem is we suck. We get real lazy and we send bulk fucking emails on linked fucking in. Can we make a pledge tonight? Actually, you know what? Let's do this. If you're willing to pledge to no more bulk email, horseshit, spec email on LinkedIn, stand up so I can clap for you personally. Make a pledge. Let's wait. Get up. More. Fuck this bulk email shit. Don't sit back down, dude, with the beard. Get the fuck back up. I see you. I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. There we go. No. Let's clap it up for this pledge. No more. Enough! Thank you. Guys, best part.
That was great. Okay, now let's put aside the language piece for a second. Again, we've made the point on that. But that's also a good example of, especially at the end of a presentation where you're doing some type of call to action and getting people to stand up. Now that's also kind of risky because let's imagine in that audience, I have no idea how many people are there. There's probably a few thousand people. But if nobody stands up, or if a couple people stand up, then it just comes across awkward. Now, again, he can get away with this because of his name, his brand. And so if you're going to do something like this, some type of audience interaction, this is going to require a high level of trust and rapport between you and the audience. So this is not something that you would do towards the beginning of a talk. If you come out and in the first 30 seconds you say, hey, if you have a mom, I want you to stand up, right? Most people aren't going to do that, even if they're like, okay, we all qualify. Most people aren't going to do that because they're lazy. They have no idea who the speaker is, and so they're not going to take that simple little action. So again, he can get away with it a little bit more than you could. If you're going to do it, make sure that you've built enough rapport and trust with the audience that you feel confident that they are going to respond, because there's a chance that they may not respond in the way that you hope.
The shit doesn't work. How many people here have done
Okay, another, again, just kind of genuine off-the-cuff reaction or interaction with the audience there.
Have done email marketing in their careers? I'm just curious. In 1997, I had a 200,000 person email newsletter for Wine Library and WineLibrary.com that had 91.3% open rates. Not because I was a hero, but because email marketing hadn't existed yet. The thing that I'm most fascinated by is that I know as a marketer, and I'm a marketer, as a marketer, the number one thing, the thing that I know more than the sun will come up tomorrow, is that marketers ruin everything.
It's a good line.
It's what we do. When I saw that little fucking ghost, I'm gonna fuck up that ghost.
Okay, so what made that line powerful was two things. One, it was true, but it was also delivered in a funny, entertaining way. So anytime that you can say something that, if you've ever noticed like a good comedian, sometimes they'll say a line and the audience will start laughing and saying, that's so true, because they haven't really thought about it that way. And that's the same thing that happened with the line that he just delivered, right? Is that marketers screw everything up. And people started laughing, one, because it's funny, and because it's funny is that it is true. It's a true statement. So anytime that you can deliver a line like that that's both true and funny, and the truth is that it makes it funny, it's a really powerful line.
I got you, Snapchat. I'm gonna ruin the shit out of this platform. You show me attention, and I'll show you a place that I wanna sell. And that's how it gets changed. And bulk email in 2016 is insanity. Nobody's opening that shit. And what? Just because you have an algorithm that says, hey, Gary. And by the way, I saw 10 of these emails today. All the fuckers in this room that have the hey, Gary thing that's in a different font than the rest of the email, you suck. Right? I mean, enough of that. Jesus. Fuck. B2B. I'm gonna go tactical because I wanna leave with, lately I've been trying to get even more tactical in my keynotes because I love the emails that I get where, hey, thank you so much, it helped my business. Here's the tactic. I'm gonna give you the best blueprint I have for B2B selling right now, and I really hope it brings you some value. And I'm gonna go into a detail, I'm gonna get a little nerdy. If you're in a B2B environment, you have to run Facebook ads and you have to do it now. They cost about $5 to $6 CPM right now on average. The cost of these CPMs will be $30 36 months from now. I'm saying this because I know I'm gonna have the video of this, and in 3 years, you're gonna see me share this clip and I'm gonna tag it, I told you so, motherfuckers. It's gonna be $30 a CPM because everybody's gonna figure out how much attention is really on that platform. So the supply and demand curve is gonna change, just like wine now is a $6, $7 word. Got it? Okay, so now you're gonna run Facebook ads, and first and foremost, you're not gonna outsource it to somebody else. You're not gonna find little Susie that's 23 in the office and be like, you're young, you know social media. You're not gonna do that. You're gonna actually spend 10 hours and read and watch videos. It's crazy, you can learn anything. So many people are like, Gary, but I don't know how to use the Instagram product. I'm like, I get it. You go to Google and you search it, fuckface, okay? That's what you do. It's not super complicated. It's crazy. Anything you don't know, you can search in 2 seconds. Everybody's crippled like they don't know. It's fucking there. You do that. And so here, you become a practitioner. You actually deploy the Facebook ads yourself so you have some ability and knowledge so somebody can't hose you. You need to be the person that knows it the best. You then target. There's a way to target employees of. One more time, B2B, raise your hands. You guys know who you're going after. I want you.
Now, he did that there of, hey, one more time, raise your hand. It's a simple pattern interrupt, right? Where people are, it's easy to kind of get lulled into a talk and you can easily start to check out, check in and out. And so something simple as, hey, raise your hand or turn to your neighbor and do this, or clap if this happened, or any of those type of little things, or just simple pattern interrupts that take someone from like daydreaming to, okay, I'm back here with the talk. What are we raising our hand to? Yes, I'm raising my hand. So it's a simple little thing that you can do. So he may have noticed there that the audience was not necessarily zoning out or checking out or anything, but again, it's just kind of a simple pattern interrupt to keep people engaged.
Target the employees of that company. One by one, the employees. Now, you take a step back. Now you know you're targeting 15, 17, 22 different businesses. If you want to get really crazy, you target them one by one and you make videos or pictures just for that company. But if you want scale, you can put them all in a bucket. And now you're gonna make a video or a picture, a billboard or print ad or a television commercial. And you're gonna make it, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna make the creative start with, does your CFO know? Does your CTO know? Does your CIO know? You know exactly who in that organization is the person that needs to see that content. And you're gonna start the video or your picture with that statement, and I promise you, for hundreds of dollars, depending on the size of your business, sometimes for thousands of dollars, that person is gonna get 12 to 25 to 100 people forwarding them that piece of content, and that piece of content will be the gateway drug to your sales team to convert and close. It works every time. That's it, right? I can talk about, you like that, right? It's practical, black and white. You got it? Right, I can talk about One Life and all that shit.
Okay, now again, let's talk about what he's doing right now, of giving some specific tactics. That's one of the things that an audience always really wants to hear, is you've heard me talk about, there's two things that an audience is thinking about, is so what and now what. So what and now what. So what, why does this apply to me? Why should I care? Why does this matter? And then now what am I supposed to do as a result of this? So his going back to the beginning of being self-aware and all that, like that's good. Like that was a really good, like a good kind of riff that he did, that kind of a good little chunk of material that he did there. But some of this like practical, here's how to target on Facebook, and here's what to do, and here's what you do with that, and here's how to stop sending, you know, bulk email on LinkedIn, and here's what to do instead of that. That like very granular technical type of things, depending on the audience, can be really effective and empowering, because now they have something of, okay, I know what I can leave and do and how to apply this, rather than just kind of this pie in the sky type of idea. So that was really good.
That's fucking up in the clouds, right? That's like, who gives a fuck, right? Yeah, I care.
All right, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that speech breakdown of Gary Vaynerchuk's 2016 Inbound Marketing Talk. Hey, if you like this, make sure that you comment below. Let us know what is one takeaway that you are going to be applying to your next presentation. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like the channel as well, and like this video so that we can make sure we can continue producing content like this to help you in your speaking business. All right, my friend? We'll catch you next time. You're awesome.